The Balkans. Usually when Westerners think of countries with petty beefs, they usually think of England and France, Japan and South Korea, or hell, even Canada and the concept of the USA existing. But all those fail in comparison to the European Bermuda Triangle, where all investments, people, hopes, and progress seem to disappear, aka the Balkans.
You will go to sleep, eh? You will go to sleep.
For centuries now, the region has been known as the pettiest place on earth, because if it weren't for their neighbors, right now they would be a world superpower rivaling the United States, take back Constantinople and claim the title of Third Rome. Naturally, in such an environment, it is no wonder that some of the most foulest jokes and stereotypes came into existence. With the birth of the internet, many of these jokes were able to breach their containment zone and infiltrate the minds of young Westerners, alongside with Minecraft, Fortnite, and Andrew Tate videos. Now, when an average person views a Balkan meme, they might think that a mentally ill person made this. Now, although they might not be wrong, there is much more depth and lore hidden within these squiggly lines. But do not fret. As a PhD holder in internet retardation and a minor in gender studies, I have taken the task up by myself to explain every single Balkan stereotype in an effort to earn enough ad revenue so I can leave the Balkans and join the rest of my family in Germany. So if you're new to the channel, this is part 2. If you haven't checked out the first part, make sure to go and check it out after this video. As in the last one, we went over all of the ex-Yugoslav stereotypes, while in this one we'll be going over all of the rest of the personality disorders inhibiting this peninsula. So without further ado, let's begin.
This is the strong sperm, this is the Greek god, okay, Greek god.
When it comes to the Greeks, there are mainly 3 stereotypes that dominate and prevail around them. Throughout the West and the EU, the Greeks are mostly thought of as poor and lazy. Looking at country ball comics, usually the punchline regarding Greece is how they're poor, how they're going bankrupt, how they have no money, XD.
I have no money.
Which is actually extremely funny to think about as a Balkaner, because Greece is actually the second wealthiest country in the Balkans right after Slovenia. So if they're poor, this stereotype mainly started in 2009 during the Greek debt crisis. To spare you from the boring adult finance talk, practically Greece lied about their financial situation in an effort to adopt the euro, which then forced Germany and other EU countries to bail them out so that their economies wouldn't crash.
Where's my money, bitch? I ain't gonna keep asking nice.
Alongside that, on websites outside of Reddit, the Greeks will usually be depicted as black. Now, this stereotype originates from the Greeks practically having a tanner skin tone than the rest of the Europeans because, you know, they're from the Mediterranean and all, which, in typical non-racist Balkan fashion, equated them to being in Paris. Now, if they're not going to be represented as broke or black, they will usually then be represented as gay and boast the name of gay reeks. Within Balkan meme culture, there are several other plays on words, such as this one, like Bulgarians, Turgay, or even Albanians. Well, for the others, this was just a cheeky play on words. For the Greeks, there is still a little bit of depth to it. The main reason for stereotyping them as LGBT is due to homosexual aspects in ancient Greek culture. Throughout the ages of antiquity, homosexuality was a prominent aspect in the days of elites and aristocrats in ancient Greece, because of which the Balkans deemed the entirety of the modern-day country as gay.
Me, Albanian boy, fuck your family complete.
Ah, Albania. A country that just being mentioned to a Serb in a fleeting conversation makes them go into an epileptic frenzy and foam at the mouth.
Sleep, eh? You will go to sleep.
Throughout the Balkans, next to the Serbs, they are known as the loudest and proudest of the nationalists. If they can put a two-headed eagle onto something, you bet your ass they will. Throughout the ex-territories of Yugoslavia, many Albanians boast the stereotype of being extremely good bakers and ice cream makers, who also boast a comical accent.
Srbija je isto prezime, učiteljice. Yes.
A kakšen priimek je potem Srbija?
Pa devojačko prezime.
In Serbia, when convincing someone to go and try a new confectionery out, usually all that needs to be said is that the owner is Albanian, and next thing you know, half of the town is gonna be right at his doorstep eating a scoop of ice cream that God himself created out of heaven and brought onto the earth for us mortals. Another stereotype is that they are in some way related to the mafia and that they are going to steal your kidneys.
I dress ego on my chest, cuts a bit in Albania. Keep my head up high for the flag I die.
Now this stereotype came into existence because of the Kosovo War, as the International Criminal Tribunal for Yugoslavia made allegations against the Kosovo Liberation Army that they engaged in human trafficking and organ trafficking of the Serbs who inhabited Kosovo. Alongside that, in meme culture, they're also stereotyped as being overtly macho and creating low-resolution maps of their country consuming half of like everyone else's country that they border in an effort to create Greater Albania. Meanwhile, the creator is comfortably sitting in his apartment in Zurich making that meme. Thus, many meme creators will create memes that overtly satirize this concept as like giving half of the world or an entirety of the world to Albania, and also other funny parts of the world.
Where am I?
You don't know where you are?
No.
You're in Bulgaria.
When it comes to the Bulgarians, they are mainly seen as rude and unfriendly. Whenever I would meet someone who traveled to Bulgaria, almost unanimously they'd always have the same response, that the Bulgarians they encountered were quite unfriendly and rude, and that they seemed utterly miserable and hated having to interact with the foreigner. Thus, throughout the Balkans, they kind of gained a reputation of basically being the black sheep of the family, as they refused to kind of engage with the others and interact with other non-Bulgarians. Sort of like that one kid who sits in the back of the classroom and plays with his finger skateboard.
You're gonna try to scoop your back finger like that, while also making this finger go like, and it should end up.
In Serbia, there's also a stereotype that they are backstabbers. Now, this mainly dates to the Second Balkan War and both of the World Wars. Many Serbs thought of Bulgarians as basically brothers because they're both Slavs, they're both Orthodox Christians, and they both fought together in the First Balkan Wars to defeat the Ottomans. However, the Bulgarians, feeling that the Serbs occupied their rightful land, that being Macedonia, and that they cheated them in the peace treaty, decided to invade them in the Second Balkan War, and then got beaten to a bloody pulp by the rest of the Balkan League, and then ended up losing even more territory. Then, in both world wars, when the Serbs were weakened, the Bulgarians would attack them again in an effort to take back Macedonia. Which later on in Serbian meme culture and jokes, many ended up representing Bulgarians as backstabbers. When it comes to international meme culture, Bulgarians will mostly be represented as barbarian Mongols with yellow skin and slanted eyes, riding off into the sunset with a white woman. This mainly references the fact that modern day Bulgarians originate from nomadic Turkic Bulgar people who migrated to the Balkans from Central Asia and established the Khanate of Volga, Bulgaria, and later on the Khanate of Bulgaria. Thus, they satirize them in this way.
I am more white than you. You look gypsy. I am blonde hair. Blonde hair I have. You gypsy.
Ah yes, Turkey. The glorious land of delicious food and collective Balkan cope. When it comes to the Turks, most of the Balkans have collectively attributed the worst possible human traits as stereotypes to them. The most prevalent would be dirty, inhumane, greedy, brutish, ugly, etc, etc. Now, the origin for these harsh descriptives mainly originates from the time that the Balkans were mainly ruled by the Ottoman Empire. As the Ottomans, and by extension the Turks, conquered most of the Balkans, they were seen as extremely unpopular by the population they suddenly found themselves ruling over. They were mainly seen as such because they conquered the countries by force, and they were a heretical religion, they boasted an alien culture, and they basically were trying to force them to assimilate into this alien society which they didn't want to be a part of. Thus, throughout the Balkans, and arguably throughout Europe as well, a lot of the Turks started to be dehumanized and also started to be associated with the most undesirable human attributes. When it comes to meme culture, most memes regarding the Turks were manifesting themselves from this depiction of the Turks from way back when. Dark-skinned, ungroomed, brutish, uncivilized, etc, etc. However, there are also two popular depictions that originated from 4chan.
Who is this 4chan?
The first one being the depiction of the Turks as roaches. Originally, this meme came to fruition from a copypasta on 4chan where the user was comparing Turks with cockroaches. However, arguably the meme took off because the already established stereotypes of seeing the Turks as practically pests. The second meme being the more niche Karaboga meme. Now, unlike the previously mentioned memes that were created by non-Turkish people to depict the Turks, the Karaboga meme was created by Turks for the Turks, which was later on adopted by a wider public. Now, this meme first peeked its head on 4chan's far right board poll, where there are many users who are basically white nationalists and propagate the idea that Europe is being overrun by blacks and Muslims. Thus, in an effort to troll white nationalists, many of the board's Turkish users banded together and created this copy pasta where they advocated for black and Muslim supremacy and conquering of white women. The name of the meme Karaboga even in Turkish means black bull, which is a reference to cuckolding.
U ime Isusa Hrista ti naređujem da bežiš odavde. Ovde više nemaš posla.
Now, if there existed a country which every Balkan nation unanimously makes fun of, then that would be Hungary. Throughout the Balkans, they are seen as this weird group of people that somehow mistake duck quacks for a language.
János legyen, benn a János hegyen, délután oda várom.
And seldom seems to leave their own inner circle with their customs and culture. Mainly, the Hungarians are seen as kind of cold and unfriendly and even stuck up. Now, this stereotype mainly originates from the fact that the Hungarian language is unrelated to any other in the area and works in a completely different and unfamiliar way than any other. Alongside that, throughout history, Hungary boasted a much larger kingdom, which was able to subjugate most of the other schizophrenics in the area, and under them they practically lived as second-class citizens. Another stereotype regarding Hungarians is that they usually don't speak the local language, or if they do speak it, they speak it extremely poorly with broken grammar and a thick accent.
Marija, meni jako sviđa, totalno mi je opčarao. Tako poljubio sam ga da kazao mi je da sam ja buzi.
This stereotype mainly found its roots from the Hungarians who lived in the countryside outside of Hungary in neighboring Balkan countries. Many of them practically grew up in a homogeneous community where they didn't need to or didn't have the opportunity to speak the local language. Thus, when they would leave their little village and go to a larger town, which was usually mixed or a completely different ethnic group, they were usually unable to communicate or talk to other people, which kind of gave them this stereotype of being also unfriendly and just unwilling to talk Serbian, Romanian, or Slovak. When it comes to meme culture, much like the Bulgarians, the Hungarians too will be represented as yellow-skinned Mongols who LARP as being European. This too has to deal with the fact that the Hungarians originate from Turkic nomads who migrated to Europe and then settled there. However, it could be argued that there is a bit of more depth to the meme due to the stereotype that they're different and more alien and more isolated from the other groups in the Balkans. Therefore, they are represented as an exotic group of people to exaggerate this point. Last but not least, we have Romania. Much like Hungary, this is yet another country which everyone in the Balkans seemingly likes to make fun of. The main stereotype thrown around the Balkans, and I guess across Europe as well, is that the Romanians are gypsies. A lot of time in online culture they will be depicted as brown-skinned gypsies who partake in stereotypically hickish and redneck gypsy activity. The stereotype has several origins that all kind of blend together. First and foremost, Romania harbors one of the largest gypsy populations in Europe, where around 3% of the population identify themselves as such. Now, although most of Romania's neighboring countries harbor a similar amount of gypsies in percentages, and Bulgaria harbors even a higher percentage, that being at 5%, Romania is the largest country in the Balkans by population and size, and therefore the number of gypsies in their country is almost double that as compared to in other countries. Secondly, throughout Europe and North America, there has been this unsuccessful push to label the word gypsy as derogatory and practically a slur, and instead replace it with the word Romani, which is quite similar to the word Romanian and Romania. Thirdly, when Romania joined the EU, a lot of gypsies from Romania moved to wealthier countries in the EU, and some ended up being arrested for committing petty crimes, and after they were detained, they would be processed as Romanian citizens, and also they would be published as Romanians detained or Romanians deported, which kind of pushed this stereotype of Romanians being gypsies even further. Alongside this, the second stereotype that surrounds Romanians is that they steal. Most likely, even if you're not familiar with the Balkans or Balkan meme culture, through your endless internet addiction and scrolling, you've at one point stumbled at a meme like this. This stereotype too didn't come out of thin air. Now, the stealing meme can mostly be traced back to the communist years. Communism, being a dumpster fire of an ideology, as you all know, led many Romanians into excruciating poverty, where the majority of the population couldn't afford adequate amounts of food. Many during this time, mainly kids and young people, turned to theft as a means to survive. Alongside this, many of the previously mentioned gypsies detained abroad were arrested on theft charges, which unfortunately gave the country and the people a reputation as thieves, even though the times of communism are far gone. And yeah, those will be all the Balkan stereotypes. Since you made it this far, make sure to subscribe and like this video for more Balkan related content. And if you want me to create better and more frequent content, become a member like these lovely people: Craig Zeeves, Mickey D, Pavan, Anthony YouTube, Roland S, Emanuel Dancila, Andrei Sorin Parskiv, Poodleraz, Remberlads, Jožef Borat, BC Chan, Evangelist Gru, Adam Cube, Mate Radu, Raj, Exalted, TD45, Burker1237, Kazamirs, Engineer Sivius, Funkale 47, Ottorino Laryngolog, the world's greatest donator, Crackpipe Xander, Kyle Wilcox, Alfredo Jimenez, Fuji88, Not Regular, Piotr, Sword of Seals 33, DMN, Boldea Kalin, A, Thunders, Katerina Frisoni, AAF5YT, Jan Stasiek, and IO. My name is Janos, and you've watched Living Ironically. Piotr.
Hey, why